Inside, the lights are low. This isn't your typical lounge. This is where the forgotten tales gather, where the shadows have their say. We'll talk of monsters in the woods, of killers with a motive and lights in the sky, and ghosts in the attic. Come into the waiting room, please.
Tonight we have Melissa Dawn Harris, and she is a writer, a YouTuber, a night scholar. I'm going to ask her about that. I think she's into 1970s vampire horror, and she is the Velvet Bite radio host. And also, too, I have a little connection with Melissa. I discovered that she had some communication with Carl L. Johnson, demonologist. And you may have seen him a few times in Ghost Hunters, the TV show. Well, anyway, when I dealt with him, I think it was in 2012, Carl was promoting a group of women who were hunting Sasquatch. And I think he was like the technical advisor or something like this. He was trying to get them on a TV show. So, and he wanted me to interview him, and somehow things got messed up, and I never did. So, Carl, I guess Carl's still around doing his stuff. So, also too, I'm just kind of curious. Is Melissa did an interview with somebody about the Stockton vampire? I'm very familiar with Richard Clinton Chase, aka the Sacramento vampire. In fact, I even did an investigation, and we went to all the victim homes, and we got some evidence, ghostly evidence, of some of the victims still lingering around. So anyway, I want to know about the Stockton vampire. I never heard of it. So, and I live right close to Stockton. So anyway, Melissa, I believe you're like into vampires. Am I correct?
Well, it's one of the shows that I do. I also do a show where we talk about the occult and our system, the kind of beast system that we have. So we delve into researching in that, not practicing, but researching. And I've done podcasts for years on cults and stuff like that. So different realms, but I've always loved vampire film, literature, history, folklore. So I decided my husband encouraged me to talk about it and start a new show. So here I am.
Also, too, I don't know if you're familiar with Danielle Diva. She's supposed to be a relative of Dracula. So
Oh,
I hope you two hook up, and she's supposed to have a book out pretty soon on Dracula.
interesting.
Melissa, have you ever heard of Saberhagen? I think it's Fred Saberhagen.
I have heard of him. He had some books, and I may have even had one of his books like long time ago, but I have not refreshed my memory on him. I know I'm gonna have a guest on soon. I have a friend who he back in the early 80s, he did like a big, I guess he was Australian, so he did this like, In Search of Dracula kind of thing where they came out with a lot of information of the real Dracula in the 70s. So he did that whole tour searching out Dracula way back when communism was still in. So I think I don't know, they all kind of fall in there. I can't remember the author's name, but he did this stuff on Dracula, basically linking it to Vlad the Impaler and all that stuff. And so he was so fascinated by it that he went and did all the travels and went in there like a long time ago. And he just told me, I had no idea. And I'm like, you need to come on my show, bro.
How many Anne Rice books have you read?
Oh my gosh. I read at least 4 or 5 of them when I was younger. I definitely all the Queen of the Dam, Vampire Lestat, Interview with the Vampire, all those ones I definitely read.
I have a question for you, or an opinion thing, because I got into an argument recently with someone, and it was one of those weird things because I read the books from the time I was a kid, and I'm 52 now, so I'm dating myself. Uh, so in the original interview, they changed the movie from the book. It's different. In the movie, Louis loses his brother. His brother is obsessed with religion and wants to give all the family's money to the church, and then kills himself. That's Louis, depression and drama. In the movie, Louis loses his wife and his child, and that's the main difference between it. But otherwise, the whole thing with Claudia is we if you know anything about Anne Rice, her background is that Claudia is kind of modeled after the daughter that Anne Rice lost in real life. It's the
Yes.
child that never grew up, right?
Right.
Well, a lot of people online are showing in interviews with who's the girl who played Claudia in the movie?
Kirsten Dunst.
Kirsten Dunst. And her interview is that her first on-screen kiss was with Brad Pitt, and she said it was gross because she was a child. She was 11 years old, and he was like 31. And that is gross if you put it in that context. But
Yeah.
it wasn't a kiss in the sense
It was
of
like a
kiss
peck.
to it was
Like a-
it wasn't even a peck in my opinion. It was
Yeah.
the whole relationship between the two was a father and daughter relationship.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's weird, but I kissed my parents. It was,
Well,
it,
I actually remember her saying in an interview long time ago, and I think people dig things up and take it out of context and apply all their weird everybody's sexual predator stuff they're focusing on now, and it's just not how it was. It was, yeah, she was like their little girl. She was like they were the couple, and that was their little girl. And the scene in the movie, it's just so it looks like someone just sort of giving a quick little kiss, not because they're romantically involved, but because it's like a daughter figure, like you said.
exactly. That's what. If I went back and watched the movie, one thing I after watching it from when it first came out to now is I realized, oh my god, it is so much more gay than I remember.
The subtext
now-
is definitely
Welcome
there.
to the TV program. And have you watched the Interview with the Vampire series?
I tried and I turned it off. No offense, but it's too. I don't mind it when it's sublime and subcontext, but when it's right in your face and it's using themes that are not even the book, I'm like, okay, well,
Yeah,
that's obviously for someone else. I'll put it
Bill.
that way.
So they're probably talking about on the TV show they had flying butt sex, and I was shocked.
Well, in the book, in the book in Anne Rice's books, the vampires can't have sex. That's the one part of their
Right.
body that no longer works. However, Anne does have a homosexual theme that runs through all of her books. Even the one, The Cry to Heaven, which is about the castrati, has some homosexual scenes in it. So Anne had, a fascination with that and, had homosexual friends. So it wasn't a big deal with her. She wrote about it. But in the movie, I just forgot how much it just seemed that after watching it now, it really seems like Tom and Brad are a gay couple and Claudia is their little girl. And
Yeah.
So what was
Which
the
is
argument
funny.
you were having, Phil?
Well, the argument is that somebody was taking great offense that Kirsten Dunst's parents let their daughter kiss Brad Pitt, and he was 31 years old. I'm like, well, she's acting as his daughter in a movie where she's kissing her
Exactly.
father.
Yeah.
So what?
Yeah,
how
that's
is
ridiculous.
this?
You know what's really interesting about that novel is when Anne Rice wrote it, she originally saw herself as Louise and her husband, Stan Rice, as Lestat. So I don't know, she wrote them as two male characters. Then eventually she would come and she would talk about it. She would say, actually, I realized that I was both Lestat and Louise. So they're kind of more internal characters of herself. And I think each generation goes and applies their own stuff to it. And we're like a hypersexualized society now anyways. We're over the edge, so I'm not surprised.
Yeah, definitely a lot more than it was when the movie was first made and brought out. So
Are you guys ready for Talamasca?
Say that again.
Sorry.
Oh, sorry.
Are you guys ready for Talamasca?
No,
what about Talamasca?
That's by Anne Rice. It's some type of secretive organization that watches over vampires, witches, werewolves, whatever.
I looked for that after Queen of the Dam came out. I looked for that place so I could join it because I wanted to join this society. It's not real. And they had paranormal societies, which was what Talamasca was supposed to be. But yeah, the actual Talamasca where it dealt with the vampire parts was not. I was so disappointed.
Melissa, are you going to watch Telemasca when it comes on?
Where I'll try and check it out. I'm so out of tune with the modern stuff. Every time I watch a modern vampire thing, I'm totally disillusioned. However, I will say I checked out Dracula: A Love Tale, and it was pretty good.
I haven't seen that.
So,
Yeah, I found I
Melissa,
got access to it online.
What's
Oh.
your favorite vampire movie of all time?
Well,
Old one, new one, whatever.
I'll start off. I couldn't remember this before. I was like, how did I get into vampires? And I'll tell you the first one that I remember that got me intrigued by vampires. I always thought it was Gary Oldman in Bram Stoker's Dracula, which was one of my favorites. But I actually, when I was 10, probably became fascinated with the Monster Squad and the guy who did Dracula in that movie. But I also love like Werner Herzog's Nosferatu from 1979 and the Count Orlok figures. I love Christopher Lee. It's hard to choose, but the figure that I loved when I was younger that got me into vampire literature was Gary Oldman or Francis Ford Coppola's Dracula.
Yeah, he was pretty hot in that.
How about you, Stacey?
Yeah, and this new movie out, Dracula: Love Tale, really it's different, but yet it follows that kind of line, that similar theme.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna have to watch that. My favorite, what got me into vampires, well, the original Dracula, of course, Universal's Dracula. I just watched that again, the other night before last, and just laugh at how cheesy it is. But what got me really hardcore into vampires is probably Lost Boys. So that's gonna
yes.
always, yeah, it's
My
always gonna
favorite.
have a special place in my heart.
Absolutely.
It's a really good movie. And it's funny that he asked about the Stockton vampire in California, because when this person came to me about that, I was like, oh, is that like Lost Boys?
Santa Cruz. What about
Yeah.
you, Phil?
Well, I lost, boys. You took it. I think it would, one, because it was when I was a teenager when that came out, and it was just cool. It was
Yeah.
just a cool movie. I mean, the Jim Morrison music in the beginning,
Yeah.
the Bunny Men great soundtrack, great cast. It was practically like a Brat Pack cast almost, and then it was funny, So it was like a comedy, horror, cool, all wrapped into one. Phenomenal cast, and it holds up. I can go back and watch that movie, and it's still good.
Yeah.
And I grew up with the classics. I mean, honestly, the first one I remember as a little kid, I think I was like maybe, 10 years old, was the old, or maybe before that even, that my grandparents and my uncle, my aunts used to wake me up when I was a kid to watch the old Hammer films. That would come on
yeah.
theater. The old English, Christopher Lee Draculas. And those kind of like terrified me as a kid, because, he was pretty scary looking, for a little kid. But then I remember when Frank Langella came out as Dracula, and this was like the disco 70s Dracula. So he was like he was on the cover of like Playboy magazine back then. He was like the Dracula sex symbol.
Yeah,
And
he's
so-
very romantic.
Yeah, it was really kind of crazy.
Vampire. Who was the tannest vampire?
Oh, that was Love at First Bite with
That's George Hamilton.
George Hamilton,
Yes.
which was awesome. Funny
Met
movie.
George Hamilton. I got to ask him about that too. I saw
One of
him
my
down-
favorite part, Zadine, you know that movie Love at First Bite? What I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Do you remember the scene where the guy in the movie, instead of holding up a crucifix to him, he holds up a Jewish star?
Yeah.
And George Hamilton goes, "Why don't you go find yourself a nice Jewish girl?" It was just a great movie.
No, I saw that guy down in Los Angeles, in Studio City. He was sitting, like, I guess, studying the script, and he had some really nice shoes. So I saw the shoes before I saw him. And when I realized it was him, and I asked him, like, you know, I just told him that I like that movie, Love at First Bite.
That's
And
great.
he-
How
he-
awesome.
he's a Leo, by the way.
Ah, okay.
Hey, Stacy, a person now
Yeah.
trying to get on the show is Tim Capello. I talked to him and he was thinking about getting on the show, but he said that his schedule's too busy. And Tim Capello is the bare-chested saxophone player in Lost Boys.
I love him. Oh my
And
God, I would
also-
love to meet him.
Yeah.
That's
He
what I
gets
thought.
like 30 seconds on screen, but he impressed everybody forever.
Yeah. Also too with Tina Turner, he was playing the saxophone.
Yeah, he was. Yep.
Yeah.
Beyond Thunderdome.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Thunderdome.
I'm still trying to get him on the show. The guy is quite the character.
Well, you need to tell him to hurry up and get on our show because we love him over here.
If you ever want to read some really demented vampire movie books, go look up Fred Saberhagen and read his chronicles, because he takes
Okay.
it in a completely different direction that I've never read anything else. They're like in a different realm. You know, there's another world that parallels our own, and I don't want to spoil it for you, but his vampires can have sex, and it's just absolutely insane the different stuff that goes on with it, and yeah, I don't want to ruin it. It's pretty wild.
All right, well, make sure you link that below so we know who to go back to, so we can look up those books.
I read those in the early '90s when I was in the Marine Corps. They were like sitting inside the base, library, and it was just they had the whole set. I went through all of them. They're pretty wild.
Wow. Good.
Melissa, you're into the 1970s vampire horror. Is that correct?
I think it's late 70s, late 60s, early 70s are the best, because of course vampire movies, all horror movies changed after The Exorcist. So kind of like somewhere between 67 and 73, there's some really good campy movies out. I mean, I like the Roger Corman films too and all that kind of stuff. I love that style. And so things like Count Yorga, I think are great. As campy as I love the fact that in the 70s they could just go out and film a movie. They would not get a permit. They'd just go indie, film it on the streets, and then take off before the cops came. So you're literally getting real stuff. I just love the fact that they got away with so much.
I was like Divine in the City to film all kind of stuff. What Melissa, what did you think of the series, even though it's not all vampire, but Penny Dreadful?
I've never watched that. I have actually not watched it. I'm so out with the modern. It's sad.
That was pretty good. You might want to check that one out.
The new it's a new series called Penny Dreadful, but they because Phil, they had the whole sexual theme. Everybody was like, everybody was like, I don't even know what sex you want to call it, but and then they had the vampire, they had the Frankenstein, they had the werewolf, but the way they mixed in Dracula and the vampire, they actually had him as the brother of Lucifer, and they had him more as a split, like they had him as twins, and so the Satan or the devil was more with tricking people and getting their soul, whereas Dracula was about feeding on them, eating and converting people. But so they had them as brothers. It was kind of interesting.
Interesting.
Yeah.
It was
I like when they do.
Well done. Sorry, Stacey. I thought it was well done, and it didn't pander too much to the modern audience. That a lot of the new shows tend to do. It paid homage to a lot the classic horror that Zed was talking about. It did bring up the Frankenstein's monster in a true to form way that didn't necessarily I don't want to ruin it.
No, Phil, not. I mean, I want you to expound upon this. Did you think that it was a trip how they did Frankenstein the woman, the female version, because in the original movie, like in the 70s and the 60s, Frankenstein was created, and then Dr. Frankenstein made a girlfriend or a woman for him, a counterpart, and as soon as he electrified her and brought her to life, she didn't want any parts of Frankenstein at all.
That
And
was
he-
yeah.
But what they did in this one, and two things, the use of electricity to regenerate limbs and all that stuff, that's a real thing. People are finding out now. So it's ironic that they did that to reanimate a body that goes beyond the genetic code. But the other thing is that the woman, when she was awakened, she played like she didn't have any memories. She remembered everything that happened to her, all the men, all the people that abused her, and she had like a master plan.
Yeah.
And she was super intelligent, and so the character, they actually did a lot with her character compared to the other one.
She was one of the best female characters I've seen in modern times.
Wow. I mean,
which is so cool because a lot of times movies, they'll change a male character into a female character because they have to, we don't have enough female characters and we just got to make one.
Right.
This
Checking
time
boxes.
they had one and they did it awesome. They didn't make it her a dummy. They made her powerful, and it was and intelligent, and they used her pain in an intelligent way, and it was so believable and cool and well done, and it's so refreshing to see something. It was just cool. It's definitely it's funny, Zadine, that you bring it up because I just watched the original Bride of Frankenstein from 1935, 90-year-old film the other night. Which still stands the test of time. Talk about a masterpiece from a 90-year-old movie. The only cheesy part about the whole movie is when they show the little people that the guy did for his experiments. I mean, that's kind of corny, but other than that, you could totally see.
It was so good.
It was good, but that was cheesy. But if you look at that movie, you could totally see where they got Young Frankenstein from. Almost that whole movie is like Young Frankenstein. They took Young Frankenstein right from the Bride of Frankenstein.
Oh my God, it was so funny.
Yeah, so iconic and so many metaphors.
Yeah.
Well, the lady from Penny Dreadful that you were talking about, Phil. I think the most powerful scene was when Dr. Frankenstein had teamed up with this guy, this Indian gentleman who played Dr. Jekyll, and he was like, they both were like outcasts from the university, and he was like, I have experiments. He says, you have experiments? He said, well, come see mine. So they started working on like a serum that would change people from homeless, deranged, psychotic to just back to their normal selves.
You're spoiling it for her. You're spoiling it for Melissa. Don't ruin it for her.
I need to watch it now.
She does this scene right here where she pleaded with him so bad, and she did such a good scene to where they wouldn't experiment any further on her. I'll put it that way. But the reason why he declined to give her that serum, it'll make you cry. It'll blow you away.
Yeah.
You have something to look forward to, Melissa. Check it out.
There you go.
Hey, Melissa, I want to play a little game with you. I have 6 vampire movies that I really like. I want you to rate them from 1 to 10, 10 being the best. And I'm going to name the movies now. Dusk to Dawn.
Probably about a 7
7
for me.
Okay. The original Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Oh, I'm gonna say 7 too. I like that movie.
Okay. Queen of the Damned.
I'm going 5. That just didn't do it for me.
Okay. What We Do in the Shadows.
What was that? Sorry?
What We Do in the Shadows.
I haven't watched it yet. Can't tell you.
Okay. Right.
I don't have Netflix.
Daybreakers.
Haven't watched that yet.
Okay. And the last one, Underworld.
I'm gonna say a good 8. That's a good series. I love that series.
Okay. And now, Phil, Stacy, and Zendine, what are your favorite vampire movies? Phil?
Lost Boys definitely at the top. Like I told Stacy before.
Yep. Same.
Probably number one. God, The Hunger, number two. Because and that's almost number one. It's really right up there with Lost Boys. It's just a completely different kind of movie than Lost Boys. So as far as like serious vampire movie, The Hunger's number one. Comedy vampire movie, Lost Boys. What We Do in the Shadows, the movie, not the series, also pretty close because that's hilarious.
It is. It's hilarious. I love it.
That's a really good movie. New Zealand casting crew, great series there. There's so many great ones. I mean, even
there's way too many.
Even crappy ones, I kind of like because I have a thing for bad movies too. You know, sometimes the real bad ones are great. Yeah, I mean, honestly, the only bad one that I've seen in recent years was like that Dracula 2000 piece of shit.
Yeah, that one was really
things like that are kind of cringy. The Underworld thing, I think, was like when it first came out. The first one was great. I mean, who didn't like to see her and all that leather? You know, it was great. But I'm a man. I have to admit, she looks great in it. But after watching Key and Peele make fun of those movies, I really can't take those movies seriously anymore. Have you seen the Key and Peele skits on the Underworld movies?
Oh no!
Oh my God! You can't watch those movies.
Are they hilarious?
Look, Jim Carrey made fun of Gary Oldman's Dracula on Living Color, and that's hilarious.
It was funny. It's akin to that. Well, I'm not gonna go back. Go look up Key and Peele, like makes fun of Underworld
parties.
Because they take the piss out of it. They really do.
Okay.
Send me the link on that one.
Yeah, I wonder if Drunk History has like a Vlad the Impaler episode. They must. I'm gonna have to look that up. Someone telling the history of Vlad all drunk.
Oh, I know, right? So that's so funny because whenever we were talking the monsters, I just watched the one about Mary Shelley and how she came up with everything. That one was really funny. And it was like, and then she was like, yeah, so I'm doing this. It was just, I love how the Drunk History is awesome. So if you guys haven't watched any Drunk History, definitely watch it.
Yeah, for sure. It's good. There's some whenever Winona Ryder's on there performing, she's just a hoot.
Yeah. We'll have to look that up and see if there is any one on just Dracula.
I would be shocked if there's not. I would be shocked.
Have you ever seen a movie called Gothic from 1986?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that was the story of the Percy Bysshe Shelley and Lord Byron, right? They all kind of
how she came up with Frankenstein. It's when you were talking about that, I just made me think of that.
Yeah, now imagine that story being told totally drunk.
Drunk History. Oh, that'd be great.
It was hilarious.
And as Stacy is friends with Buffy the Vampire Slayer, because I met Stacy at Witchapalooza.
Yeah.
And Christy Swanson was there, and I was interviewing Christy.
Yeah.
Nice.
And Malcolm McDowell, and he kept calling him calling him his Clockwork Orange name.
Oh yeah, it's so funny because they go, Paul, go interview Rowdy. I go, Rowdy McDowell. I go, oh, Rowdy's up there. So I'm thinking in my head, oh yeah, he knew Elizabeth Taylor and stuff like that. So I went over there. Yeah, so tell me about Elizabeth Taylor. And I wasn't really looking at his face. It's Malcolm McDowell. I was so
Malcolm McDowell.
Oh my God. Oh my God. He looks at me and goes, you got the wrong McDowell. I go,
I loved it. Malcolm was so nice.
I know. I go, Malcolm, you were great in Clockwork. They got to do a sequel. I was so
Clockwork Orange.
Yeah. Fresh squeezed.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it was funny. Then he came out and he was
And
like,
I kept my demon warrior mask on because I was so embarrassed. And he was walking towards our booth, and I made sure my mask was on because I didn't want him to recognize me.
it was hilarious. Yeah. So yeah, not friends with Kristen, but I love Malcolm. He was so sweet. About the only like major celebrity that I was ever like friends with is was Tony Todd. So yeah, we yeah, that was fun.
That was crazy. That was crazy.
How much time we got?
Well,
Got about
okay, we
7
got
minutes.
7 minutes. And,
About 7 minutes.
So
I'm
we're going to
curious. Yeah. We're
after
gonna-
7 minutes, we're going to take a 10-minute break, and then we're going to send you a second link so we can finish up the interview. I'm sorry, Phil. Go ahead.
What are your what's your favorite vampire book series, Melissa?
It's definitely I think it's probably Interview of the Vampire would have to be the best. I did like the Chelsea Quinn Yarbo books that she had on that Count Germain, but Anne Rice is a better writer. And I would say that my favorite book of the series was The Vampire Lestat,
Yeah, me too.
the second one.
I haven't seen that. I haven't read that one yet.
It's good.
That's the best one.
It's his backstory. It's his story of how he became. I would definitely read it.
Wolf Killer.
You know what I love? Anne Rice, all her books connect. So it's like a Anne Rice multiverse. Just like Stephen King. Stephen King, you look at it, all his stories connect. All of them.
Yes.
Even his son, Joe Hill, when he writes his story, he connects it to the Stephen King verse.
Paul.
I like Salem's Lot. I mean, Salem's. I don't know if Salem's Lot is considered
Oh,
well,
Yeah.
Salem's Lot is a vampire. I guess it's a vampire, but there's the short story was Jerusalem's Lot.
Yeah.
You know, and I thought that was really good.
Yeah.
Is that the only time that Stephen King did vampires?
Let's see. Jerusalem's Lot. Let me think about that because I'm gonna have to.
I know John Carpenter did vampires. I thought that was. I mean, it dates itself.
Yeah.
But it was pretty good.
Yeah.
What did everybody think of the Van Helsing's daughter series where she turned people? That one series where the vampires were turning each other back into human.
I haven't watched it.
It was pretty good because the vampire it was a lady that had the old vampire blood. She had the ability to turn others back, even some of the more powerful vampires. So they feared her, and so people were turning each other back and forth, back and forth. It was I believe it was like a Van Helsing Netflix series. It was pretty good. It was
Yeah, it was a series. I never watched that, but I did like the movie Van Helsing with Q because they fused the two of my favorite monsters together with Frankenstein and Dracula, and I like how they put all that kind of stuff together. I love it when they do mashups. I think it's awesome.
Yeah.
Hey, Melissa, when we come back, I want to know more about that Stockton vampire.
Yes.
Sure.
Yeah, because you guys, I don't know anything about this, and it's blown me away.
I didn't either. I don't know if there's much substance to it, but I'll talk about what my guest talked about for sure.
Okay,
Melissa, do you know anything about, or do you think there's any validity to all the stuff coming out about Louisiana vampires? What do you think about that?
Well, I want to have a few guests on with that in context to that because I had some guy on who swore he had a vampire experience in South Carolina, but he was telling me there's cults and there's different vampires, and a lot of the hub is Louisiana and New Orleans. So it's definitely something I want to look into. I myself have never experienced vampire stuff, but I don't doubt that there's not cults and stuff like that around and nefarious groups for sure.
Well, like you said. Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Honey.
No.
Like you said, there's different types of vampires. So energy vampires are the ones you're usually going to go find. But go ahead, Sam.
Oh no, I was just saying with the with all, I was wondering what he thought about the movie 30 Days of Night and 30 Days of Dark.
So I haven't seen it, but if I go on the idea of it, it sounds pretty terrifying.
That movie, let me tell you,
Although
that
you
movie
could
messed me
take
up.
advantage of the 30 days of if it switched and there was 30, if it
Oh,
became
yeah,
daytime
yeah.
all the time.
That movie, it ruined it for me because the action in it, the way Josh Hartlett, the role he played, just the way everything happened, and it wasn't a zombie movie, but those things were really fast, smart. I mean, it made you fear, like it had like all those elements. So that for me was I used to like Peter Cushing when I was a kid, but
Mhm.
that was so long. But it wasn't the same type of action and fear that was built up in 30 Days of Night.
Yeah.
Good
I just
vampire
thought,
movie.
yeah, I
That's-
know. And you're thinking, why didn't anybody come up with that before?
Hey,
Okay.
Stacy, you were talking about energy vampires. Like an energy vampire, like your history teacher puts you to sleep because he sucked out all your energy. Then you have the physical
Exactly.
vampires. Physical vampires are like your coaches and stuff like that make you run a couple miles and they exhaust you, take your energy. And then there is the sexual vampire, one who goes around making all
Succubus.
these conquests, and from those conquests, he receives all this energy, so he becomes a sexual vampire.
Well, and your kids are vampires as well because they just suck all the energy from you and use that to run around all over the place. Like,
Does anybody remember the 90s when they had those talk show with the sanguinarians on them?
Oh yes. Yep. And apparently they're still around, so
Wow.
they're cutting each other with razor blades, and they got their little
Crazy.
I don't know what they call them, their hosts, they have
Donor.
people who willingly donate. Yeah, they're donors who willingly donate.
Hey, you guys, we got 30 seconds. Melissa, we're going to take a 10-minute break. Then you'll receive the second link, and we'll finish up the interview then.
Okay.
oh,
Okay,
Hey.
so
I want to know about real vampires.
yeah. I mean, Richard Trenton Chase and everybody else.
yeah. All right. We'll see you guys then.
Okay, 10 seconds.
10 seconds or 10 minutes?
10 seconds.
We'll be back
10
in 10
seconds.
minutes.
We'll see you in 10 minutes.
Yeah,
Okay.
let's get the show.
And we're back.
Melissa, welcome back. Can you tell us a little bit about that Stockton vampire? I'm just kind of curious about it.
Well, I couldn't find any evidence of a Stockton vampire except for one serial killer case that had happened in 2020 that you mentioned before. But my guest, who was she's a partner of a friend of mine. I have a friend named Walter Bosley who comes on my show. He's an ex-FBI agent, and she was talking about this Stockton vampire stuff. So I asked her to come on, and it was an experiment thing she did. Someone had told her this area in Stockton was very haunted, and they do like this really scientific form of remote viewing. And she was remote viewing, and it said something about a vampire in the area. So it's an ongoing thing she's researching in the history to see if there was some kind of serial killer or some kind of vampire in the area. And she's linked certain different aspects and elements and locations and train tracks, and that there was sketchy crime and people going missing and stuff like that. So that's literally the gist of it. And I asked her, like, was there an actual reported vampire? Were people getting attacked? And she's like, she's still digging the archives and trying to find out. I thought when she was coming on, it was going to be like an actual, like a vampire attacked someone, because I've actually had someone come on and say they met someone who they believed was a vampire that disappeared in a graveyard at them. So I thought, well, maybe this is what it is. But she's trying to dig into this. It's not like woo-woo stuff. It's remote viewing that, say, the CIA and the FBI were practicing. And and trying to get different images in a very scientific way. So I'm not sure the procedure, but I mean, I'd like to know. Maybe I could try it and test it. But like I said to her, it would be nice to have something to collaborate your remote viewing a little more solid. So maybe on her research she'll get it, but she's having trouble getting a lot of the documentation that she would like. But there has been some mysterious murders, strange goings on, and apparently Stockton's a sketchy area, or it can be, and there's a lot of dead people who are murdered, transients, paranormal activity, homeless people going missing, satanic cults, and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's right up there with Del Paso Heights.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. She needs some more solid foundation. I get it. Yeah. So, how did you get into vampires and stuff like that?
Like I said, I've always read the literature since I was 15 or 16 after Bram Stoker's Dracula. And I was originally, like I said, always podcasting on more folklore and mixed with occult stuff. And I'd stopped podcasting for a bit, took a hiatus, and I'd done some politics, and I went down rabbit holes and seen little different political bubble groups that I was part of. And I got out of that. And my husband would just hear me talk about analyzing folklore and history, and I would hear something on podcasts. I'd say, no, that's not how it went. And I would talk about it to myself, like, hey, I think he's wrong. And he's like, you need to start your own show where you talk about stuff. So I do go into a lot of history, and I want to really do something that's like, because I'm living in Utah right now, I want to kind of look at the Skinwalker and see if there's any myths that links any kind of vampiric lore to that. And yeah, I'm really more into the history, also psychology of it. Like, are elites vampires? Are there vampire family bloodlines that did weird rituals? Sort of get into creepier, darker stuff in the future. But my husband really encouraged me. He's like, you like vampire stuff. I really think you should do your podcast on that. So he was supporting that.
Melissa, no, I did Skinwalker Ranch. I investigated.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was really interesting. I'm sorry, Stacy, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just saying, have you watched, I know you said you hadn't watched a lot of the newer vampire movies and things that were out, but there's a vampire movie called The Invitation that I thought was really intriguing because you haven't seen that one?
No.
So it's basically about this, lady that's a woman that she's kind of in poverty, and she lost her mom. She was trying to kind of find family roots, so she did DNA testing, and people over in England got a hold of her cousin from this family, and you were talking about bloodlines and lineages and stuff, and that's all it's about, really, is that she ends up in the middle of this thing and has to be married to Vlad Dracul because it's part of this these groups of families that are kind of protected by Dracula, and in order for them to stay protected, they have to stay in this kind of Trinity pact. And so she goes over there just thinking she was going to meet her family. She was supposed to be there, to, hang out. And that wasn't it at all. So it was kind of cool when you said that about the bloodlines and the lineage and, powerful people. That kind of puts that to it. So if you get a chance, watch The Invitation and you kind of see where it's going on that end of it.
Yeah, sometimes I live in my own little bubble world, and I come out and everybody's like, have you seen this? Have you seen this? And I'm like, oh. I'm like, well, and I was watching, I like to go back to old ones that were way before I was born, and I was watching, and I have to finish it. I was watching Planet of the Vampires, and I found that really intriguing. The whole synopsis of this kind of vampire planet hypnotizing you and making you violent and taking over. Like, I was like, wow.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's really fun rabbit holes to go down into, though.
Melissa, I see that you're a writer. You have some books out?
Well, I plan on books in the future. But I'm compiling most of my stuff on Substack right now.
Okay.
So I have a Substack that's free. Things stay up there for about 4 months and then they go into an archive. So anyone can go over there, melissadonharris.substack.com. And so I want to kind of compile stuff in a certain theme and then get that together and pop a book out. It's just when's the time that I can get to do it. Everything I've got going on, but I do write on Substack and I do want to get a book out eventually because it's a goal of mine. I've never written a book and I'm thinking, it's something I should knock off the list.
Yeah, definitely. Is your book going to be about vampires or all paranormal or what?
It's probably, I haven't even done a layout yet or even thought about what it would be, but it's obviously going to incorporate a lot of the vampire themes that I have on the Substack. I've looked at vampires as a personality disorder, and that's something that I look at a lot. So it might go down there where who knows, take a list of people that were rumored to be vampires, analyze them. I analyze occult people all the time. Like people say, Aleister Crowley, Wicked Man on Earth, stuff like that. And I'm like, look, I think I just analyze their personality and their behavior and kind of crack it down and say, what was really going on? Are they a vampire or is this vampire really a personality disorder? I like doing stuff like that as well, kind of looking at them and not being so it's the devil and just saying, okay, this was not a person you're going to hang out with. I'm not telling you that, but here's what I think's going on with that individual.
I like that. I've got an MS in psychology. I was a drug and alcohol counselor for a really long time. And the psychology, my kind of area of study was sociopaths and psychopaths. So looking into the psychopathic serial killer brain, I can really see where you're going with that. And I like it. That sounds awesome.
And you can do it with almost anyone in history. Yeah. Any nefarious person I probably focus on the darker elements.
That's awesome.
Melissa, you have on there that you're a night scholar.
Oh, that was just some little tricky language. It's kind of pertaining to the vampire thing because they're nocturnal. So it's just sort of a made up term. Wouldn't take it too seriously. Just that we deal with the creatures of the night. Let's just put it that way.
I got you. And YouTuber. So, yeah. It says that you're a YouTuber.
Well, yeah, that's where so I stream my show. Tuesday night's the Occult Studies, and Thursday night is the Vampire series, unless my guest gets messed up and I have to switch them around. So Tuesdays, Thursdays, 7 p.m. on Eastern on Tuesdays, 9 p.m. Eastern on Thursdays on my YouTube channel, and it also goes on Rumble and streams at a couple places. It will be streaming on Substack, but that's in beta right now, so I'll have to wait till they make it available. But I stream it on Facebook and Rumble as well. And we just have people come in and commentary. Sometimes it's a topic like, was Dracula a narcissist, or Dracula cried tears of blood, or whatever historical document I can pull up. And then sometimes we go through things like, on the occult one, like I talk about what really happened with paganism versus Romans, or I might talk about a political thing that I see today. I try to keep it neutral, and I'm like, hey, what's going on with this? Did the CIA really hire witches and warlocks and do remote viewing? Yeah, they did. Stuff like that.
That's neat. So my question. I'm sorry. Question, with everything that you're kind of heard up to this point, and with stories like the Highgate vampire and the one that you heard about, the ones that you're going to be listening to, what is do you believe that they do exist or had existed?
I think, look, I have people who tell me they exist. I've never experienced it, but in my experience, when you're dealing with any kind of mythological creature, there is something real about it in history. There's a root origin. So at some level, they could exist. Like when we talk about crazy things that elite and the powerful do, you could call that a vampire. I'm not going to
Mhm.
get into it because it's really dark what people talk
Yeah.
about, but you can consider that vampiric. There's people who physiologically or psychologically think they need blood to survive.
Mhm.
Is that a vampire? I don't know. Does a vampire exist like Dracula that comes up and bites you and turns you? I'm not sure about that. But I know there's always a root truth to most mythology. So I keep that in mind whenever I'm looking at stuff. But I also am pretty logical where I'm like, okay, we also have to be skeptical.
Right. I like that answer. That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you got to really think about all these mythological creatures that have and cryptids and things like that. And before there was any kind of communication between countries and even towns, within a city, there was always different forms of the same kind of creature. So how does that happen when there's no communication?
Right. You see the archetype go throughout all societies. And I believe that, I mean, because of technology, most of us have been incorporated into the written language now. We don't do things by orality like tribes do. I believe that there was a communication form that was very organic. You could call it psychic, you call it whatever you want, but I believed people maybe not didn't even know like they're doing things because they're getting this stuff in their mind because the collective is communicating because we're all connected, right? And I think we're not good at it anymore because we don't practice the skill because we do it all by phones and by writing words down. We don't do orality anymore. That's a tribal thing. It's not a civilization thing. We're very concrete on our data. So I think it changes how the brain works.
I agree.
Mm-hmm.
What you said about the paganism, I mean, there's been, the indigenous people, Africans, different people, they have had their religion twisted. They were one with nature. They believed the spark of God was in you. Like if God has a child, you would be a god. But when a lot of the colonial or the conquerors came, they were like, well, this is paganism. But then they borrowed the same system and just changed the name.
Yeah, they incorporate everything and they changed the name. And they villainize, and I'm sure there were sacrifices. I'm not saying there weren't, but we don't know what's real and what's not because I look at a lot of like say the Druids, and in your culture they didn't write it down, they were oral. So the Druids and these witches, they are the database, they are the information. So what do? You kill them and you get rid of them. So we don't really know what the Druids were doing because they killed them all. So we don't have their testimony. We have Julius Caesar and some people's sarcastic writings.
No, you bring up a good point. You bring up a good point. Africa is the Sansuis. I think there's like one left. So you'll have like the Zulu tribe, different tribes. Well, they'll know the pre-colonial history, and like once they die out, you only have the other stuff that people are saying. But then, like you said, there's the everybody has come in contact with some of the same things. I don't even think it's about when you say vampires, anything like, it's just a matter of what tribe came in contact with what alien or what new creature, and I mean. We just don't have enough technology to chronologue everything. But I mean, we still got 7 more million species we don't even know about?
Yeah. I mean, in Canada, on a place called Newfoundland, a whole entire village was having the old hag or the sleep paralysis syndrome, the whole village. And you hear some of that stuff even in African villages where they all get attacked by this demon. Is that a vampire? Maybe.
Yeah, well, see, and the thing about the African, when they had these shaman that they could go into battle, and the African scholars will tell you about, they'll say, hey, the real ones, not like voodoo priests. They're talking about Orishas, guys that would go in the battle, no shield or anything, and people feared them because of what they could do with the element. And some contend about a real faction to that, and some seem, but I think that any culture, everybody was able to tap into that, and they would have to outlaw that so that you couldn't have martial arts. You couldn't hurt other people,
Yeah. The Romans were terrified of the Druid priests. They had power. They weren't political. They had power over the people, and they were scared of them. And so I think they vilified them. We just don't know. And I imagine they do the same for priests or any kind of figure like that in any other culture that was not And the thing that's really interesting too is if you would go back far in Rome's history before they became a massive civilization, they probably resembled these native cultures that they destroyed. They probably started off that way.
Sure. I mean, when you say gods, when a lot of times the indigenous people, when they say God, they mean Goma, Gus, Dubai, meaning like everybody else has been flipped. The wizardry or some of the bad arts have been made to look good, and some of the good arts have been made to look bad. There's a big talk about that, what's good, what's bad. And then you, like for example, in China, you have the Mandingos that came with the divination, and they were using that a lot. And then at some point, when the religion switched, that was like considered evil. But people wouldn't fight battles; they wouldn't get married without it. Like, so I guess it depends on who's ruling, who's in power or whatever.
It's true. And I mean, the Roman Empire, all these empires, colonium, they're powerful. I mean, there's benefits to it, but there's also, like I said, I think we lose a lot of. They're so connected to the world, the raw nature, and we are not connected to it because we have houses and central heatings. It doesn't affect us in the same way unless we have like severe weather. And they're just so connected to it that I think they're more connected. They believe that the spirit world is right there. And we just don't believe that anymore because we're separated from it.
Civilization, if you look at Romans and the Greeks, they never sat down and had a real civilization. When you're at war all the time, how could that be a civilization? Where you have a tribe like the Khoisan, they stood up and worshiped. They didn't have to be on their knees. It was one with nature. Everybody's included, the birds, the trees, everybody. So, yeah, like you're right. The new written down, stringent
they're like
stuff.
Jedi Knights.
Well, you know what? Credo Mutwa, Sansui from Zulu said that the original Chituri, the aliens that visited those African tribes, said that they look exactly like Darth Maul. They said he looked exactly like Darth Maul. He was so amazed. He was like, he was just convinced. This guy was 90 when he said that. So he was really convinced that they had stolen the prototype Darth Maul from the Chituri who visited the Zulu.
Yeah, I think George Lucas might have been doing some research there into that kind of history because that's interesting. Little Sith Lords.
Yeah, the Sith Lords, yeah. And they said the things on their face signified the order, like what rank you have. Some of them didn't have the things going out of the face, but they still have the red and black, the red skin. They talked about it. It's pretty interesting.
Cool.
Hey, Melissa, is Lilith the first wife of Adam? Would you consider her as a vampire?
Hard. I mean, I'm not a biblical scholar, but I think there's a lot of if you I think there's a lot of misogyny in terms of her. You could see that as they're like, oh, they don't want that woman to speak out against the men, but you could also see her as a decrepit anti, this holy woman. I guess it depends how you look at it. I mean, certainly I've heard that comparison, but I don't know. We got to realize the Bible was written by Romans. Literally, it was decided what it was going to be by that same Roman Empire. So we have to be careful. And she very well could be a vampire that goes around and kills babies and is a horrible woman. That is considered a negative for femme. That's like the dark mother, like the dark female energy harms children, whereas the positive is nurturing. So certainly you can see her that way.
Oh, okay. And also too, you had these crazy killers like Peter Curtin, the vampire of Dusseldorf, this serial killer. And I think it was in 1929, he was going around killing all these people and drinking their blood. Him, and then what really intrigues me is Rob Farrell. And he was the leader of this vampire clan, and they killed these two little boys. Are these people, are they just crazy psychopaths, or do you think they could actually be vampires?
I think they have personality disorders for sure, and they get locked up in a fantasy world and convince themselves of some kind of thing. They probably, if it wasn't vampires, they probably do some other method, but I think they would still be violent and target children. I think that's just, they like that aesthetic. If you're, that's definitely serial killer material. No, 100%.
Melissa, so if you never see it, if you never see an actual vampire or somebody bite somebody and turn somebody, like, there's nothing that will make you believe that possibly that stuff is just on the outskirts, it really exists. It's just they kept it from us? Or do you think that it's an archetype that we've thought about so much we can make come true? Or you think like possibly it's just a psychological thing?
I absolutely do believe that that our minds are like, this is why they want to control our minds in the first place. We have propaganda because our minds project out its thoughts and it makes reality. So if you're constantly looking at vampires, it's possible that if the whole entire village believes in it, it'll create it, like a tulpa or something like that. It'll definitely create it. And that might be like, we were doing this experiment. I had a podcast a long time ago with a co-host. We called it Drawing Out the Spirits, and we'd have a guest, and he was an artist, so he would draw out what we were talking about and stuff. And we did this experiment. We were copying the Philip experiment. And so I didn't have time to do it. I was working, but he was doing these rituals, trying to envision this ghost story. It was like of a cat that haunted a castle that was mutilated. So he was envisioning it because he drew it. And we were trying to see if it would work and it would show up. And he started telling me, "Oh, I'm seeing a cat shadow in my hallway." And I didn't listen to him. I was like, "Yeah, whatever." I was so busy. And then one day I was sleeping and it came down my hall. I could see it and it climbed right. It was like basically old hag thing. And it was like this deformed, shadowy figure climbed right up on me. Never had it before. And I literally had to push to get it off. And I got out of bed and I contacted him. I said, "You need to stop your Philip, your experiment stuff. I think it works." I was like, "Yeah, no, I don't know what you're doing, but I've never had that experience before. And I'm not sure I quite want to again. So maybe best be stopping." So I certainly do think we can make, from our experience, I think it's true. I think it happens.
I think for me, it's more you're calling it towards you. You're putting out that energy, like with the cat. So I think it was already out there, kind of like when you watch the Insidious movies. Speaking of Darth Maul, you call to something that's already out there, and it comes to you because you called it.
You invoked it for.
Yeah, and a little less than manifest destiny or manifesting it out of thin air type thing. So I don't know. That's just kind of the way I look at things.
However it happens, I gave him heck and told him to stop.
I do not blame you at all. That is horrifying.
Tell them just be God, get lost, kick rocks. Yeah, God. I mean, what they say in science right now, that like if we're looking at each other, talking to each other right now, we exist, but only while we're engaging each other. The atoms and molecules and all that, they're saying that doesn't form, like nothing exists, outside of what you're basically seeing in front of you. And that's kind of hard, that's kind of hard to swallow,
So when your husband leaves, he doesn't exist anymore. That's spooky.
If he's not in your face, he really does. You activate. They've proved that you activate a certain reality, a certain molecules, according to what you're looking at. But outside of that, so I don't know. It's weird. Check it out. It's pretty weird.
Yeah, that is interesting.
I mean,
it's like.
Oh, I'm sorry, Melissa. It seems
no,
like
go ahead.
Oh, okay. Seems like a lot of ancient civilizations, they see blood as an important life source, so they want to acquire it. I mean, just like in the Bible, the Watchers, they're over here mating with human women, and they give birth to giants, the Nephilim, and the Nephilim, they desire to drink human blood and eat human flesh. Yeah. So it seems like vampires have been around for a long time.
It's in communion. when you go to church on Sunday and you go up for communion, you eat of the body of Christ and you drink his blood. It's in
Weird,
every
because
major religion from the beginning of time.
Yeah.
I always thought
It's
in the
only
Bible it tells
natural
you
when
not.
I mean, the act of kissing goes back to cannibalism. And every
boy.
culture from the beginning of time has practiced cannibalism. So, I mean, it's only natural that everybody has seen themselves bleed or seen other people bleed, that
It's
people are going to
interesting.
realize that blood is important.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's interesting because when Bram Stoker was writing Dracula, I think it's in Leviticus that it tells you cannot eat the blood, drink the blood of a living creature, and that's kind of why he was, that inspired people about writing about vampires, because they're drinking the blood of living creatures, and it's considered like total sin, and that's
Isn't it
why
fu-
he
isn't it
turns into
funny,
a
though, that
monster. And
Isn't
You
it funny though that Anne Rice says you don't drink the blood of the dead?
yeah,
You're supposed to stop drinking before they die.
Yeah.
It's like the
They
exact
die.
opposite.
It's
And look at
interesting.
Lady Bathory. She was over there draining the blood of all of her servants and everything else.
And
Oh,
bathing in
man.
it, right?
Yeah, and taking
Well,
this
some
blood.
people say that was propaganda too, by people who wanted to get rid of her. So some people say it's real, and then today a lot of scholars say that there was a lot of propaganda against her. I'm not sure, but the popular consensus is that she was kind of a psychopath, basically using the blood of girls to stay young.
And
Yeah,
it
but
was-
she got
it
that
was
from her
supposed to be
husband.
300 virgins. I'm
But
sorry.
that's a real thing. That's a real thing. Those stem cells and the infant blood. I mean, there's a
Exactly.
lot of stuff. Yeah, that's it's And what about chromium? Is that chromium? Is that a real thing too? You guys think where they
Adrenochrome?
adrenochrome? Yeah. What do you think
So
about that?
adrenochrome, well, I actually wrote an article. It's funny, I wrote an article on this. What happens is basically when you get startled or scared, or you release adrenaline in your blood system, and you transform it into adrenochrome. And they think that it might have properties that does like kind of clotting or different medicinal. Some of them say it's not proven, but there was studies done. I have an article on my Substack writing about this. There was some loose studies done way back in the 30s that showed it had some kind of medicinal or would help heal things like reverse frostbite. And I'm not sure the extent of it, but it's there where you could understand that using fear, scaring someone, producing that in their blood, and doing a sacrifice would be, you can get it.
Yeah, bring out the adrenochrome. Well, the most important thing about that is if you look at all the studies, even remote viewing, which you brought up earlier, the next part to remote viewing is a partitioning, where they can actually grab things. Not only can you remote view, you can get to the site and you can grab things based on over exercising your subconscious. So like they're finding out the subconscious, like breaking people down. You don't want to have to like put a person through all kind of terror and all that, but they're finding that to really exercise your subconscious is opening up way more powers, and it's like an undiscovered territory. The Russians and the United States both have declassified documents on how powerful, because for example, the remote viewing, they were actually going into other places and getting documents and bringing them back, physically, as far as the experiment showed in the documents.
It's real. It's like people, I think they have one set of educational stuff that they give to the general population, and then they have the real crazy stuff underneath that works. And as far as I know, they weren't just these governments weren't just doing this stuff. They were calling demons. They were calling like
Jack
a demon
Jack
that
Parsons.
like Aleister Crowley did this channeling and called this guy named Lamb. He drew a picture of it, and it literally looks like an alien. And they did all this stuff down in New Mexico and all that stuff, calling demons, getting psychics in, astrologists.
In Vietnam, in Vietnam, Jack Parsons was one of the first people, because what happened was the United States had helicopters with speakers, and they were trying to scare the Vietnamese, and they said they were shooting the helicopters down. They said, that's just not going to work. Do you want to scare them for real? And they says, yeah. They said, well, Dr. Jack Parsons, he knows the occult, and he does the sex magic rituals for real. Well, the Collins elite group had got a hold to his experiments and started reaching these dark entities. So he was the first person. He was a chaplain, but at the same time, he was a head person with grimoires and spells. He retired. Well, he last stopped in the San Francisco Presidio, but he got that place shut down with pedophilia and grimoires and spells. But this guy sent up our rockets to the moon. You know, he was the one that they took over his experiments of contacting these dark entities that Eisenhower and people were making deals with, but they never came clean. They said that these guys are super dark, and it was a debate. 50% of the Collins elite said we should keep dealing with them, and the other one said no, it's too dark. You know, so I guess this stuff, who knows, it maybe really does exist.
Yeah.
And we need to watch
well,
out because Phil's over here eating his dogs. So
No, he's not.
he was fine again. Well,
I don't think they were researching for nothing. I think they were researching for a reason. So there's that.
Yeah. Well, and now we've got the whole thing going around that all these stars, the actresses that look like they're so young are using babies' blood and placentas and stuff. Now they have a name for it, but they said there was some actress that actually said, yeah, they were getting like blood treatments or whatever and doing these blood transfusions and getting all this, just weird stuff.
Oh, you know what?
Placenta treatment.
You know
Do
what's
Placenta treatments.
Yeah. Oh, go ahead.
It was really gross, and I heard on the news that the Chinese are buying human fingernail clippings, and they ground it up into a powder, and it's supposed to have do this and do this and do that. So it's beneficial for you.
Gross.
You guys,
from your liver up into your nails. That's gross.
Apparently they have already taken human skin cells and turned them into an egg that could be fertilized. So when these witches were doing this stuff and saying, I need a piece of your hair, I need some clippings, there was something to that. And they've just pissed me when I saw that research out a couple of days ago. So it's getting creepy. It's getting weird.
That's the homunculus, right? The homunculus, the half human thing that they create from pieces of you.
I guess.
Well, you know what the electricity
they've really done it.
That's what they were in Frankenstein. The whole thing people missed was that when you put the electricity in a dead body, it doesn't take the DNA or the RNA code or any mitochondria, anything that to get it going. It's the electricity, and with the proper electric code, you can make a limb grow back, an eye grow, and it'll be fully functional. That's what's weird.
But that idea comes from the basic idea that we all have asystolic and diastolic electricity going running through our bodies. Go ahead, Stacey. Sorry.
Oh, I was just going to say they're also trying to make robotics like nano, what is it called? Nanobites?
Nanotechnology, nanobites, nanobots.
Nanotechnology, sperm. Yeah, so that the robots can have sperm that can actually impregnate.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
We're in trouble. That's all I can say.
No. What? That's like the apps that you can take an app right now and make another. You can make anything you want. But the thing is that AI agent can make itself and reinvent itself over and over.
Yeah. So the robots can also carry babies.
Yeah, they're gonna have wombs.
I haven't heard that. That was crazy. That's cool.
Yep.
Yeah.
China has robots with wombs.
Yes.
China has robots with wombs.
Yep.
Oh,
they're getting there.
Oh my
God.
God. That's worse than the robot preacher. The people praying and going with the priest couldn't go to work, and then they put an AI by one of the falls in like Italy, and they were like praying with it. Said, "Oh, it's good. And they'll just pray." They're like, "Oh, we'll keep using it then."
I would just rather sit at home with my dog.
Me too. And what kind of dogs do you have, Melissa?
I've got a jumbo Yorkshire Terrier. I've got a little doodle that I rescued off the street, and I don't know what Boo Boo is. We got him from the shelter. He's like some kind of little terrier. He's a little guy, but he's like traumatized. So,
Phil,
you should take a look. You should take a look at those dogs.
So cute.
Phil has 7 dogs. I have 2.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Stacey, I think, has 15.
I have cats. I have 15 cats. No, I've got 4 cats that are indoor, outdoor.
We have a cat too, but no one ever sees him. We have a cat,
you
but
think
he's
you have
always
a cat.
gone.
Remember, if you don't see him, he does not exist.
Schrodinger's cat.
We have 2 minutes left. How can people reach you, Melissa?
Okay, go to melissadonharris.com. All my links are there. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, Melissa Dawn Harris, or Velvet by Radio, because that's where we stream live. But if you go to the website, you'll get me there. And there's also melissadonharris.substack.com, and you can subscribe for free on Substack.
Stacy used to tell everybody to subscribe to our channel, but she doesn't do it anymore.
Well, it's because you guys
Subscribe to
don't
this
give me a
channel,
chance.
everyone.
Thank you very
Subscribe
much,
here.
Melissa. You are awesome. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Share as much as possible so we can get our videos out there. Thank you all for joining in.
She's on the job now.
No transhumanism.
And then we just sit here awkwardly until it cuts off.
Yeah.
Thanks for being on the show, Melissa.
We got to edit.
No problem. Thank you for having me.
Melissa,
Yeah, Melissa, thank you.
fantastic.
No, thank you for having me.
Fantastic.
It's great.
Yeah,
We
that
gotta
was
do it again.
fun.
Vampires. Next
Hey,
time we'll talk about Louisiana next time.
If Bella
Yeah, I want to go to Louisiana, but my husband's like, no, I'm not dealing with Louisiana right now. No,
Hey,
no,
I'm with
no.
your husband. I'm with your husband.
I'm
I'm-
Canadian. I moved down here in 2023 from Canada, and I married my husband. So I'm like, I want to go everywhere.
Well,
Okay.
I'll tell you what. When I'm on my way, I'll come pick you up to go to Louisiana, even though it's a little out of the way because I'm
Okay.
already going to be in California. But I can go to Utah.
Hey,
Yeah, Utah's different. It's unique, but I mean, I
Okay.
like the scenic beauty here, but it's its own place for sure.
hey,
Part of Brooklyn,
true,
Melissa.
or false? True or false? Did Bella Lugosi, was he buried in his cloak, his Dracula's
True.
cloak?
It's true.
I will say true.
Yeah, it's true.
Yep.
And apparently
sure was.
Vincent Price and Peter Lorre were cracking jokes at his funeral.
Oh, wow.
I
Oh
can
my
see
God.
that from them. I mean,
My high school quarterback